Welcome back to Outside Views. Today we're addressing a fascinating and rather ironic development. Could Brexit be reversing itself quietly, almost inadvertently, through the back door? And before we dive deeply into today's analysis, I want to let you know again that this video is one of a special series I've prepared in advance because as you're watching this, I was undergoing surgery for a tumor, stayed in hospital, and then recovery time at home where I can't work. So for about 2 weeks, you'll see a number of pre-filmed videos designed to ensure that you remained informed while I'm incapable of doing something new. And thank you as always for your support. And now let's unpack today's intriguing topic. The year is 2025, nearly 5 years after Britain formally left the European Union, and the fallout from Brexit continues. Yet a new twist has emerged, because could Britain quietly be inching back towards closer ties with the EU through the back door? Remarkably, the catalyst behind this potential reconciliation isn't Europe itself nor even Britain. Instead, it is American President Donald Trump, whose turbulent presidency and the confrontational policies have unintentionally sparked renewed unity and collaboration across Europe. Trump's volatile leadership, particularly his aggressive stance toward Europe and his destabilizing economic and security policies, has inadvertently pushed the EU into unprecedented decisions. Europe now faces historic choices about defense, finance, and diplomatic strategies, pushing it closer to its estranged former member, the UK. So let's unpack how this scenario unfolded. First, consider defense. Trump's unpredictable international policy and repeated threats of reduced US involvement in NATO have forced Europe to reconsider its reliance on American military support. In 2025, following years of heightened tension, the EU announced an unprecedented €150 billion investment to build a self-reliant European defense industry. And this massive initiative focuses particularly on air defense systems and advanced technologies traditionally dominated by the United States. Interestingly, this development has created new opportunities for strategic collaboration between Britain and the rest of Europe. The UK's extensive military experience and advanced technology make it an indispensable partner in Europe's drive toward defense autonomy. While Brexit had initially widened the gulf between Britain and Europe, Trump's erratic leadership inadvertently pushed both sides to recognize mutual security interests that surpass their differences. Meanwhile, the EU's financial landscape is also experiencing a profound shift. Trump's controversial economic policies have damaged trust in US economic stability, prompting investors and states worldwide to seek alternatives to American financial instruments. Consequently, Europe has seized this opportunity to propose closer financial cooperation across member states, breaking historic taboos such as joint European debt insurance. And that's something we really need to talk about on my other channel. For Britain, which faces its own daunting post-Brexit economic challenges, closer economic alignment with Europe becomes increasingly appealing, especially as the UK's economy struggles under the weight of Brexit-induced isolation and trade frictions. And what about Germany, Europe's traditional economic powerhouse? Well, Germany is in transition when I'm filming this. Historically reliant on exports, particularly automobiles, Germany has seen its industries falter amid global economic uncertainties and a lot of damage done by their own government at home. The emerging narrative is striking. If Germany can't sell cars, perhaps they'll sell tanks instead. Indeed, Europe's newfound focus on defense spending offers Germany a unique economic opportunity, potentially transforming its struggling export economy into one focused on defense manufacturing. This shift, however, inevitably demands deeper European integration, with Britain potentially becoming a crucial ally and partner in defense cooperation. And this possibility has profound implications. Not only could Britain benefit from renewed defense and industrial cooperation, but such collaboration could also gradually restore broader economic ties with Europe. Indeed, the idea of the UK re-establishing closer relations through sector-specific agreements rather than formal EU membership is gaining traction. Could this be the gradual beginning of a partial reintegration, perhaps not a formal return to the EU, but a practical and strategic realignment? Significantly, the political mood in Britain is also changing. Public sentiment has shifted sharply against Brexit. Recent polls indicate that 55% of Britons now believe Brexit was a mistake, compared to only 30% who still support it. The British government faces growing internal pressure to mitigate Brexit's worst effects. Yet, joining the EU again outright remains politically fraught and practically, let's put it by saying, challenging. However, an indirect approach, one that subtly deepens ties through defense, trade and regulatory alignments, may offer a politically palatable solution for Britain's leaders. Intriguingly, Britain's internal political landscape may also facilitate this stealth reintegration. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has shown openness to pragmatic cooperation with European partners. And Starmer's government has quite quietly fostered dialogue with EU leaders, aiming for incremental improvements in trade, security and regulatory cooperation. And these quiet moves could gradually rebuild trust and economic stability without explicitly reversing Brexit, a politically delicate balancing act. But yet challenges remain. Closer ties with the EU could provoke renewed internal opposition from hardline Brexiteers and may trigger hostility from Trump's America, potentially leading to renewed transatlantic tensions. Thus, Britain faces a delicate strategic choice: risk deeper isolation or accept greater alignment with Europe, even if it means navigating complex trade-offs in sovereignty and autonomy. Moreover, Europe itself remains cautious in the form of the EU. While open to better cooperation with Britain, EU leaders emphasize that Britain cannot cherry-pick benefits without accepting corresponding obligations. Realistically, any significant rapprochement will require the UK government to make politically sensitive concessions, particularly around regulation and standards. But the potential economic gains from smoother trade and from stronger cooperation, particularly in defense, make a compelling case for compromise. Ultimately, the situation underscores Brexit's inherent paradox. Initially framed as a path to greater sovereignty and economic freedom, Brexit has instead imposed limitations and isolation, compelling the UK to reconsider closer collaboration with its former EU partners. And ironically, Trump's chaotic leadership has accelerated this recognition. Without intending to, Trump has contributed more toward European unity and potentially improved UK-EU relations than many European leaders themselves. In conclusion, Britain's subtle shift towards re-engagement with Europe, driven largely by external geopolitical pressures, illustrate Brexit's complexity and unintended consequences. As the UK grapples with painful economic and strategic realities, a quiet but significant realignment with Europe could unfold, not as an official return, but through the back door. The consequences of this subtle return, however, understated, could profoundly influence Britain's political and economic future. So, thank you again for joining me today on Outside Views, and while I recover, stay tuned for more in-depth analyses I've prepared beforehand. And remember to like, subscribe and share your comments. I always value your thoughts and insights. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and keep looking beyond the headlines, and the next video is right here in the end screen.